The air in the courtroom was thick with anticipation, each breath a heavy, suffocating weight. I Saturday there a statue, a forced calm, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, knuckles white against the courtroom's STD brown across the aisle. She Saturday, my wife Amelia, the embodiment of composed fury, her lawyer a shark in a tailored suit, whispered reassurances, his eyes glinting with predatory confidence. They were both so sure of themselves, so certain that they had already won. They believed they had me cornered, a defeated husband, a man broken by betrayal, and now facing the prospect of losing my daughter Lily. It had all started with subtle shifts, the late nights at work that stretched into early mornings, the detached kisses, the conversations that felt more like interrogations. There was a hollow in her eyes when she looked at me, a coldness that made me shiver. In the middle of summer I tried to talk to her, to bridge the growing chasm between us, but each attempt was met with icy indifference or dismissive sighs. She had become a stranger in my own home. The final crack came with a phone call, a missed call from a name I didn't recognize. Marcus. A quick search revealed him a handsome, smirking lawyer, probably about her age, the kind of guy she'd always scoffed at for being too polished, too perfect. That's when the suspicion solidified into a cold, hard truth. Amelia was having an affair. It wasn't just a fleeting infatuation, it was a carefully cultivated betrayal, a calculated dismantling of our marriage. Instead of confronting her immediately, I did something she wouldn't expect. I bought a small, inconspicuous camera, one that looked like a standard USB wall charger. I placed it in the living room disguised among the other electronics. It was a risk, a leap into the unknown, but it was the only way I could uncover the full extent of her duplicity. For weeks I replayed the videos in the lonely darkness of my study, seeing a fresh wound. It wasn't just the physical acts, the stolen kisses, the whispered words of affection with another man on our living room couch, but it was the casual cruelty she displayed, the utter disregard she had for a marriage for me, that cut the deepest. She spoke of me with such venom, describing me as dull, unambitious, a burden. My heart hardened into a solid stone. The man she called Marcus was apparently everything I wasn't. And then came the bomb, a legal document delivered with the casual disdain of a supermarket flyer. She wanted a divorce, and she wasn't just asking, she was demanding full custody of Lily. The legal jargon blurred as I skimmed the pages, the underlying message crystal clear. She wanted to erase me from Lily's life. I knew then that I wouldn't just sit back and let her destroy everything. I wouldn't beg, I wouldn't plead, I would fight. I would use the truth, her own actions, to shatter her perfect shared. I had initially intended to simply use the footage as evidence in the divorce case, but her vicious attempts to take my daughter, her insistence I was an unfit father, fueled a fire in me I didn't know existed. This wouldn't be just a courtroom battle, it was a reckoning. The judge entered, his presence adding to the charged atmosphere. The proceedings began with the usual formalities, but I could feel the tension mounting as her lawyer, Mr. Sterling, confidently laid out Amelia's case. It painted me as a workaholic, emotionally unavailable, someone who put his career before his family. He carefully avoided mentioning her infidelities, presenting her as a victim of my supposed neglect. Amelia Saturday there, her face a mask of mournful piety, occasionally dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. The performance was almost flawless. When it was my turn, I stood, my voice firm though my heart hammered against my ribs. I calmly presented my side, detailing the timeline of events, the sudden change in Amelia, her coldness. I spoke of how I had tried to fix things, how I had poured my heart out only to be met with dismissal. The judge listened intently, his expression unreadable. Mr. Sterling, sensing an opening, launched a scathing attack, accusing me of character assassination, of trying to deflect from my own shortcomings. He scoffed, Your Honor, it has no real evidence, only vague accusations and a desire to avoid responsibility. Amelia's eyes narrowed, a triumphant smirk playing at the corners of her pips. They thought they had me. This is where I had them, Your Honor. I set my voice echoing in the suddenly silent courtroom. I do have evidence, concrete evidence. I pulled out the small USB drive, the one containing the weeks of meticulously recorded footage. The tension in the room was so thick you could taste it. I handed it to the court clerk, who after a moment's hesitation inserted it into the courtroom's display system on the large screen. The living room came to life, the familiar setting suddenly a stage for betrayal. The first clip showed Amelia and Marcus laughing, touching their intimacy, blamed and undeniable. The courtroom filled with a hushed silence, the kind that descends when a long-held secret is finally revealed. The camera didn't lie, it showed the truth I was hiding in my own heart, a truth that was now glaring in the faces of all those who was so quick to judge Clip after clip the story unfolded. Amelia, the wronged one life, was now revealed as the architect of her own destruction. There she was whispering sweet nothings to Marcus, her hand resting possessively on his arm. There she was, the woman who had tried to take my daughter away, speaking about me with such spite and disregard. Each clip was a fresh stab, a vindication of my hurt, my pain, the terrible betrayal I had endured. A low gasp escaped someone in the gallery. Amelia's face, previously so composed, crumbled. The color drained from her cheeks, replaced by a sickly pea. Mr. Sterling stared at the screen, his jaw slack, his carefully constructed arguments reduced. The room was heavy with the weight of what we were all watching. The woman who had tried to destroy me was now collapsing under the weight of her own lies. The next clip showed the conversation she had with Marcus about the divorce, how they had discussed their plan to secure full custody of Lily. The casual cruelty with which she talked about me was shocking. Even to me, she spoke about our daughter as if she were a possession, a pawn to be used to get what she wanted. The courtroom gasped in unison. The room was video. Before I decided I had what I needed, the footage was offered in our living room, having a particularly angry phone call with her sister. In the video, she said, I have no idea why I married him. He's just so boring. I've never been happy with him. He's an anchor weighing me down. She paused, letting out a sigh before saying, I'm glad I found Marcus. He's everything the husband is not. I deserve to be happy, even if I have to make it happen myself. The clip ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. The judge, after what seemed like an eternity, cleared his throat. I think we've seen enough. He looked at Amelia, his gaze sharp, his voice hard. Mistress, I would be a fool to believe your testimony. Mr. Sterling spotted, trying to regain his composure, but the damage was done. His client's carefully constructed image was shattered. The truth, ugly and undeniable, had finally emerged. The near of the betrayed wife was gone, leaving behind the cold, calculating woman who had almost succeeded in destroying me and tearing our family apart. The judge ordered a recess, but I didn't move. My eyes locked on Amelia. I watched as she tried to speak, to deny the evidence, but the words died on her lips. Her eyes, once so full of disdain, were now pools of raw fear. She was no longer the confident woman I had married. She was exposed, stripped bare, the embodiment of betrayal. When the